Should you use a rent-to-rent deal sourcer? In this video, I'm going to share it all. I'm Simon, rent-to-rent specialist, and over the past few years, I've built a 7-figure rent-to-rent revenue business. I've got a team, okay? I've systemized it so that I don't have to do too much. I can work from anywhere in the world. And I set this channel up to give you the realest, most in-depth, free, that's right, free rent-to-rent content, all right? So that you don't have to run to the back of the room and buy a course that's not gonna support you and not gonna be there for you like I will, all right? And that's just facts. But anyway, let's get into it. Now, rent-to-rent deal sources. I've had some pretty controversial things to say about them in the past. My issues being that a lot of newbies source deals and they don't know what a deal is, okay? I don't like the fact that if you use a deal sourcer that's built a rapport with the landlord and then they hand them over to you, then what about the relationship with the landlord? I'm not sure how I feel about that, okay? I'm not sure about using a deal sourcer that maybe doesn't have all the legalities correct and then they leave you wide open. What happens if they didn't check the mortgage or the lease and then you take the property on? You have to give it back after a few months, so you've lost all your money. All these concerns. But I have seen certain situations where it has worked out for people. And even I have considered, I've considered helping people and giving on deals maybe that I don't need or that I don't want, or maybe I'm in a different area. So I have started to explore this idea and I've broken it down, okay? Now I've got real clarity. Deal sourcing for rent-to-rent is not for everyone. In fact, for most of you, I probably guarantee it's not for you. But in this video, I'm going to share with you 5 factors to consider. And at the end, you're going to know if rent-to-rent deal sourcing is a good idea for you and your journey. Okay? Disclaimer, this is for people that are considering buying a source deal. All right? Okay? This is aimed at you. Not the other way around. Maybe I'll do another video on that. Comment below if you want me to do one aimed at rent-to-rent deal sources. So, number 1, what is your goal? Okay, what is your goal? If your goal is to do 1 or 2 rent-to-rent deals, then yeah, maybe you could use a sourcer because you're only doing 1 or 2, just a side hustle, and that's fine. If you want to do 40 deals and build an empire, you're probably not going to want to use a deal sourcer because you're not going to want to spend 4 or 5 grand 40 times. So at some point you're going to need to learn, so you might as well start right now. I guess it could be argued that if you want to do 40 deals, you could use a deal sourcer initially and then start sourcing them yourself. All I would say is that if you're doing that, make sure you use a deal sourcer in your area, because it's super important if you want to really scale and systemize and build a team and a business that you localize that in one single area initially before you scale and systemize, because otherwise you're having to do this whole thing 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So you want to go very narrow, focus on a small area, focus on certain type of properties. That's how you will scale regardless of whether you use a sourcer or not. Number 2, how much time have you got? It's all right, me sitting here on a high throne saying, yeah, you're being lazy. You need to start sourcing your own deals. But let's say you've got 3 kids, you've got a full-time job, and you can't commit to it. Actually, shout out to Allah. Allah, she has 3 kids under the age of 12, a full-time job, and a really active social life. And she's now on deal number 11 or 12, and she's absolutely smashing it. But let's pretend you're not a superhero, all right? Let's pretend you're not a superhero and you can't do that, but you can. But let's say you can't. Then yet maybe, it would make sense to source 1 or 2 deals because you've not got the time. You might be able to source the deals with management in situ. So that's really nice because you could source a deal and they do the work, okay? They've got the management, or they do manage the property. They've got the cleaners or whatever route you're going down. So you are fully hands off, all right? But you just need to understand that once again, after doing 1 or 2 or 3 of these, you probably are going to need to step up to the plate because these deals are going to get expensive, all right? Number 3, money. How much money have you got? If you've got 10 grand and you need to make that 10 grand go as far as possible, that could be 2 deals if you source them yourself. But with a deal sourcer, that's likely to be 1 deal. So if you've not got much money, I would really recommend trying to get educated so that you can source your own, because you're going to be able to scale a lot more quickly. And that brings me on to point number 4. This is the break even. These are your investment requirements. Now, in my deals that I source, I want to break even within 6 months. Sometimes 3 months is achievable. If you add a £3,000 to £5,000 sourcing fee, and sometimes it's more than that, what you're going to find is that when you do a cosmetic refurb, when you furnish the property, it's going to take you closer to 12 months to break even. Now, that's fine if that works with your time horizon, okay? That's absolutely fine. But if it doesn't, then you just need to be really honest about what it is and what it's not, okay? If you want to break even quickly, then deal sourcing is not going to be for you. I absolutely promise you that, okay? I absolutely promise you that. And finally, number 5 is the credibility of the sourcer, all right? If you were working with a experienced rent-to-renter that's got a network of landlords and agents and knows what to look for and is only positioning proper deals to you, all right, that for some reason they don't need or they don't want, happy days. If, on the other hand, you're working with a shady rent-to-rent sourcer, one that doesn't know what they're doing, one that's a little bit negligent, they're just trying to get a quick buck, they don't care about the landlord or the agent or the property or the neighbors or the lease or the mortgage, then this can be a recipe for disaster. I've seen people lose tens of thousands of pounds on sourced deals. And that's why I'm a little bit apprehensive. Hey, if I was sourcing you something, happy days, you're cool. But you just need to make sure you do your due diligence. Why are they sourcing it? Okay? Why are they not keeping it? How long have they been doing it? What do you know about the landlord and the agent? What's going on with the mortgage? What's going on with the lease? Can I get in touch with the landlord? What happens if it doesn't work out? What clauses have we got? What clauses have you got? Am I renting it directly from the landlord, or are you the middle person? These are all the questions that you need to know. And last but not least, I'm going to give you a bonus. Whether you source the deal yourself or whether you're using a deal sourcer, you need to be educated and know what you're looking for to stress test the deal. That's why when you go out and get a mortgage to buy a house, the lender sends out a surveyor to go and survey the property and do the due diligence and tell them, yep, this is worth X amount. That's why they stress test the rental income to see how much of a safe investment you are before they loan the money to you. You need to do the same before you put your money on the line. So, rent-to-rent deal sources. I'm still on the fence. I don't love it, but I think it can work for the right people, all right? But one thing's for sure. If you want to scale a rent-to-rent 2.0 business that's really going to supercharge your cash flow and replace your income super fast and take you to that point where you're going to be able to reinvest that into assets, I personally recommend learn this stuff and do it today. Hope you've enjoyed this. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.